We found this product at $1.50 and sold it at $18, and we sold over 3,500 units. To be honest,
discipline. It's one of the key elements of success in every area of life. Without discipline, there is no sustained achievement. With a lack of discipline, there is a lack of success. Goals cannot be achieved without discipline.
To a fish, water is so ubiquitous it ceases to exist. Now we all have that same thing, and it's playing on us, and it's keeping us from becoming who we want to become. And that thing is our mindset. It's our belief system. It is so ever present. It is so ingrained into the fabric of who you are and the way that you process data, you don't even notice it. Now, when I heard this from Shakespeare, I realized that once you become aware of the water, you can change everything. You don't even know that it's real. And this is the thing that impacts your life. It is your inability to see that your mindset controls everything, that it is water in and of itself. There's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And if that's true, then belief itself is a construct. And if belief is a construct, if belief is a construct, then like any other construct, it can be manipulated and changed. And at any moment, you can choose to believe something new about yourself. Now, the weird thing about belief is as soon as you change that belief, it becomes true. Why that is, I will never quite understand. What weird quirk of human evolution has left us in a space where simply believing it makes it true? If you think you're dumb, guess what? You're dumb. Truly, and you will act in accordance with that belief, and that should scare the shit out of you.
Your heart knows it. Your heart knows it, but your eyes, your mind can't see it. And it's just like looking over the water. Sometimes you can't see the land on the other side, right? But does that mean that it's not there? Amerigo Vespucci, Christopher Columbus, they had to just dive in. They had to just go because their heart called out to something. And so your eyes may not be able to see it, but your heart knows where it is. And you have to believe in it. You have to have faith in that. You have to trust in that. That there is a new land on the other side, a promised land, a land of opportunity, a land that will fulfill who you want to be. But you have to cross the ocean. You have to cross the dreaded waters. You have to cross this murkiness, this unknown to get to the other side.
And if that's the game that we're playing, if I can construct my belief system, if I can choose at any moment to believe something that's more empowering than I was believing the moment before, and that will actually find its way into my actions, allow me to do things that I couldn't do the moment before, then it's like that moment in The Matrix where Neo realizes he knows Kung Fu. If you don't realize that everything you believe is a choice, everything you believe is a choice. If you forget any of that stuff, then you will not be able to make yourself the person that you want to be. Man cannot remake himself without suffering, for he is both the marble and the sculptor. That is, it gives me the chills even now to think about that, to know that if I want to become the person that I want to become, I am going to pay a price. And to me, the question that we all have to ask is, who do I want to be? What do I want to become? And how high of a price am I willing to pay to get there? And I will pose to you that the people that you most admire, the people that have achieved at a level that you want to achieve, they are no different than you. They simply know what they want to become, and they're paying the price to get there.
Simon and Joe both invest in stocks. Simon uses eToro to invest in stocks without pay.
Sometimes you have to know what you're fighting for.
It's a gift. 40 years ago, March 27th, 1975, it was 40 years ago, just this past March, I was was flunking out of college. I had a 1.7 grade point average. I hope none of you can relate. I had a 1.7 grade point average. I was sitting in my mother's beauty shop. They still call it beauty shop now? What they call it now? Yeah, I was sitting in the beauty parlor. I was sitting in my mother's beauty parlor, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I see behind me this woman under the dryer. And every time she looked up, every time I looked up, she was looking at me, just looking me in the eye. And I didn't know who she was, and I said, she said, somebody give me a pen. Give me a pencil. I have a prophecy. March 27, 1975. She said, boy, you are going to travel the world and speak to millions of people. Now, mind you, I flunked out of college. I'm thinking about joining the army. I didn't know what I was going to do. And she's telling me I'm going to travel the world and speak to millions of people. Well, I have traveled the world. And I have spoke to millions of people. But that's not the most important thing, the success that I had. The most important thing is that what she taught me and what she told me that day has stayed with me since. I've been protected. I've been directed. I've been corrected. I've kept God in my life, and it's kept me humble. I didn't always stick with him, but he always stuck with me. So stick with him in everything you do. If you think you want to do what you think I've done, then do what I've done and stick with God. Number 2, fail big. That's right. Fail big. Today's the beginning of the rest of your life, and it's going to be very frightening. It's a new world out there. It's a mean world out there, and you only live once. So do what you feel passionate about. Take chances professionally. Don't be afraid to fail. There's an old IQ test was 9 dots, and you had to draw 5 lines with a pencil within these 9 dots without lifting the pencil. The only way to do it was to go outside the box. So don't be afraid to go outside the box. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. Don't be afraid to fail big, to dream big. But remember, dreams without goals are just dreams, and they ultimately fuel disappointment. So have dreams, but have goals. Life goals, yearly goals, monthly goals, daily goals. I try to give myself a goal every day. Sometimes just to not curse somebody out. Simple goals, but have goals. And understand that to achieve these goals, you must apply discipline and consistency. In order to achieve your goals, you must apply discipline, which you've already done, and consistency every day, not just on Tuesday and miss a few days. You have to work at it every day. You have to plan every day. You've heard the saying, we don't plan to fail, we fail to plan. Hard work works. Working really hard is what successful people do. And in this text, tweet, twerk world that you've grown up in, remember, just because you're doing a lot more doesn't mean you're getting a lot more done. Remember that. Just because you're doing a lot more doesn't mean you're getting a lot more done. Don't confuse movement with progress. My mother told me, she said, yeah, because you can run in place all the time and never get anywhere. So continue to strive, continue to have goals, continue to progress. Number 3, you'll never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. I'll say it again. You'll never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. I don't care how much money you make, You can't take it with you. The Egyptians tried it. They got robbed. That's all they got. You can't take it with you. And it's not how much you have. It's what you do with what you have. We all have different talents. Some of you will be doctors, some lawyers, some scientists, some educators, some nurses, some teachers. Yeah, okay. Some preachers. The most selfish thing you can do in this world is help someone else. Why is it selfish? Because the gratification, the goodness that comes to you, the good feeling that I get from helping others, nothing's better than that. Well, one or two things, but nothing's better than that. Not jewelry, not big house I have, not the cars, but it's the joy. That's where the joy is in helping others. That's where the success is in helping others. Finally, I pray that you put your slippers way under the bed tonight, so that when you wake up in the morning, you have to get on your knees to reach them. And while you're down there, say thank you for grace. Thank you for mercy. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for wisdom. Thank you for parents. Thank you for love. Thank you for kindness. Thank you for humility. Thank you for peace. Thank you for prosperity. Say thank you in advance for what's already yours. That's how I live my life. That's why I am. One of the reasons why I am today. Say thank you in advance for what is already yours. True desire in the heart for anything good is God's proof to you sent beforehand to indicate that it's yours already. I'll say it again. True desire in the heart, that itch that you have, whatever it is you want to do, that thing that you want to do to help others and to grow and to make money, that desire, that itch, that's God's proof to you, sent beforehand already to indicate that it's yours. And anything you want good, you can have. So claim it. Work hard to get it. When you get it, reach back. Pull someone else up. Each one, teach one. Don't just aspire to make a living. Aspire to make a difference. So I had to be here. I had to come. Even though I was afraid I might make a fool of myself. In fact, if you really want to know the truth, I had to come exactly because I might make a fool of myself. Now, what am I talking about? Here it is. I found that nothing in life is worthwhile unless you take risks. Nothing. Nelson Mandela said, "There is no passion to be found playing small and settling for a life that's less than the one you're capable of living." Now, I'm sure in your experiences in school and applying to college and picking your major and deciding what you want to do with life, I'm sure people have told you to make sure you have something to fall back on. Make sure you got something to fall back on, honey. But I never understood that concept, having something to fall back on. If I'm going to fall, I don't want to fall back on anything except my faith. I want to fall forward. I figure at least this way I'll see what I'm going to hit. Fall forward. This is what I mean. Reggie Jackson struck out 2,600 times in his career, the most in the history of baseball. But you don't hear about the strikeouts. People remember the home runs. Fall forward. Thomas Edison conducted 1,000 failed experiments. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Because the 1,001st was the light bulb. Fall forward. Every failed experiment is one step closer to success. You've got to take risks, and I'm sure you've probably heard that before, but I want to talk to you about why that's so important. I got 3 reasons, and you can pick up your iPhones. You will fail at some point in your life. Accept it. You will lose. You will embarrass yourself. You will suck at something. There's no doubt about it. And I know that's probably not a traditional message for a graduation ceremony, but hey, I'm telling you, embrace it, because it's inevitable. And I should know. In the acting business, you fail all the time. Early on in my career, I auditioned for a part in a Broadway musical. Perfect role for me, I thought, except for the fact that I can't sing. So I'm in the wings. I'm about to go on stage, but the guy in front of me, he's singing like Pavarotti. He's just going on and on and on, and I'm just shrinking. I'm getting smaller and smaller. So they say, "Oh, thank you very much, and you'll be hearing from us." So I come out with my little sheet music, and it was Just My Imagination by The Temptations. That's what I came up with. So I hand it to the accompanist, and she looks at it and looks at me and looks at the director, and it's like, so I start, I'm going to sing. This is my imagination once again, and then coming away with me. And I'm not saying anything, so I'm thinking I'm getting better. I start getting into it. Running this. Oh, yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Washington. Thank you. So I assumed I didn't get the job. But the next part of the audition, he called me back. The next part of the audition is the acting part of the audition. So I'm like, hey, okay, maybe I can't sing, but I know I can act. So they pair me with this guy, and again, I didn't know about musical theater. And musical theater is big, so they can reach everyone all the way in the back of the stadium. And I'm more from a realistic, naturalistic kind of acting where you actually talk to the person next to you. So I don't know what my line was. My line was, well, hand me the cup. And his line was, well, I will hand you the cup, my dear. The cup will be there to be handed to you. I said, oh, okay. Well, should I give you the cup back? Oh, yes, you should give it back to me, because you know that is my cup, and it should be given back to me. I didn't get the job. But here's the thing. I didn't quit. I didn't fall back. I walked out of there to prepare for the next audition, and the next audition, and the next audition. I prayed. I prayed. And I prayed. But I continued to fail, and fail, and fail. But it didn't matter, because you know what? There's an old saying. You hang around the barbershop long enough, sooner or later you're going to get a haircut. So you will catch a break, and I did catch a break. Last year, I did a play called Fences on Broadway. Someone talked about it. Won the Tony Award. And I didn't have to sing, by the way. But here's the kicker. It was at the Court Theater. It was at the same theater that I failed that first audition 30 years prior. The point is, and I'll pick up the pace, the point is every graduate here today has the training and the talent to succeed. But do you have the guts to fail? Here's my second point about failure. If you don't fail, you're not even trying. I'll say it again. If you don't fail, you're not even trying. My wife told me this great expression. To get something you never had, you have to do something you never did. Les Brown's a motivational speaker. He made an analogy about this. He says, imagine you're on your deathbed, and standing around your deathbed are the ghosts representing your unfulfilled potential. The ghost of the ideas you never acted on. The ghost of the talents you didn't use. And they're standing around your bed, angry, disappointed, and upset. They say, we came to you because you could have brought us to life, they say. And now we have to go to the grave together. So I ask you today, how many ghosts are going to be around your bed when your time comes? You've invested a lot in your education, and people have invested in you. And let me tell you, the world needs your talents, man, does it ever. I just got back from Africa like 2 days ago, so if I'm rambling on, it's because I'm jet lagged. I just got back from South Africa. It's a beautiful country, but there are places there with terrible poverty that need help. And Africa is just the tip of the iceberg. The Middle East needs your help. Japan needs your help. Alabama needs your help. Tennessee needs your help. Louisiana needs your help. Philadelphia needs your help. The world needs a lot, and we need it from you. We really do. We need it from you young people. I mean, I'm not speaking for the rest of us up here, but I know I'm getting a little grayer. We need it from you, the young people, because remember this. So you got to get out there. You got to give it everything you got, whether it's your time, your talent, your prayers, or your treasures. Because remember this. You will never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. I'll say it again. You will never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. You can't take it with you. The Egyptians tried it, and all they got was robbed. So the question is, what are you going to do with what you have? I'm not talking about how much you have. Some of you are business majors. Some of you are theologians, nurses, sociologists. Some of you have money. Some of you have patience. Some of you have kindness. Some of you have love. Some of you have the gift of long suffering. Whatever it is, whatever your gift is, what are you going to do with what you have? All right, now here's my last point about failure. Sometimes it's the best way to figure out where you're going. Your life will never be a straight path. I began at Fordham University as a pre-med student. I took a course called cardiac morphogenesis. I still can't say it. It's cardiac morphogenesis. I couldn't read it. I couldn't say it. I sure couldn't pass it. So then I decided to go into pre-law, then journalism. And with no academic focus, my grades took off in their own direction. Yeah, down. I was a 1.8 GPA one semester, and the university very politely suggested that it might be better to take some time off. I was 20 years old. I was at my lowest point. And then one day, and I remember the exact day, March 27th, 1975, I was helping my mother in her beauty shop. My mother owned a beauty shop up in Mount Vernon. And there was this older woman who was considered one of the elders in the town. And I didn't know her personally, but I was looking in the mirror. And every time I looked at the mirror, I could see her behind me. And she was staring at me. She just kept looking at me. Every time I looked at her, she kept giving me these strange looks. So she finally took the dryer off her head and she said something I'll never forget. First of all, she said, "Somebody give me a piece of paper. Give me a piece of paper." She said, "Young boy, I have a prophecy, a spiritual prophecy." She said, "You are going to travel the world and speak to millions of people." Now, mind you, I'm 20 years old. I'm flunked out of school. In fact, like a wise ass, I'm thinking to myself, maybe she's got something in that crystal ball about me getting back into school next fall. But maybe she was on to something, because later that summer, while working as a counselor at the YMCA camp in Connecticut, we put on a talent show for the campers. And after the show, another counselor came up to me and asked, "Have you ever thought about acting? You're good at that." So when I got back to Fordham that fall, I got in and I changed my major once again for the last time. And in the years that followed, just as that woman prophesied, I have traveled the world and I have spoken to millions of people through my movies. Millions who up till this day couldn't see me. Who up till this day I couldn't see while I was talking to them, and they couldn't.
The Aussie sun, it's different. It shines brighter, stronger, and even warmer than anywhere else. That's why Sunsense Moisturising Face is made for Aussie faces by Aussie experts.
See me, they could only see the movie. They couldn't see the real me. But I see you today, and I'm encouraged by what I see, and I'm strengthened by what I see, and I love what I see. One more page, and I'll shut up. Let me conclude with this one final point, and actually the president kind of brought it up. It has to do with the movie Philadelphia. She stole my material. Many years ago, I did this movie called Philadelphia. We filmed some of the scenes right here on campus. Philadelphia came out in 1993. Most of you were probably still in diapers. Some of the professors, too. That cracked me up. But it was a good movie. Rent it on, Netflix. It's a good movie. Rent it. I get 23 cents every time you rent it, please. Rent it. True. Parents up there, rent it. Netflix, please. Tell your friends, too. It's about a man played by Tom Hanks who's fired from his law firm because he has AIDS. He wants to sue the firm, but no one's willing to represent him until a homophobic ambulance chaser lawyer, played by yours truly, takes on the case. In a way, if you watch the movie, you'll see everything I'm talking about today. You'll see what I mean about taking risk or being willing to fail. Because taking risk is not just about going for a job. It's also about knowing what you know and what you don't know. It's about being open to people and to ideas. In the course of the film, the character I played begins to take small steps, small risks. He very, very, very slowly begins to overcome his fears. And I feel ultimately his heart becomes flooded with love. And I can't think of a better message as we send you off today. To not only take risks, but to be open to life, to accept new views, and to be open to new opinions. To be willing to speak at a commencement at one of the best universities in the country, even though you're scared stiff. While it may be frightening, it will also be rewarding. Because the chances you take, the people you meet, the people you love, the faith that you have, that's what's going to define you. So members of the class of 2011, this is your mission. When you leave the friendly confines of Philly, never be discouraged. Never hold back. Give everything you got. And when you fall throughout life, and remember this, fall forward.
The 1%ers live on their own terms. That's what the 1%ers are. The 1%ers don't care about what nobody else thinks. They're not concerned about what they're not trying to impress nobody else. The 1%ers, all their energy goes into being who they are. That's it. When you
in the 1%, you got time. You on your own time. So the number one qualification for the 1% is they own their own time. What would my life look like if I was really in the 1%? What would it look like? And again, that's why I said be careful, because you can start getting on the internet and you can start making it look like something that it's not. And I'm not telling you not to market yourself. I'm not telling you not to be creative. But I'm saying don't get to a point where it's a thin line and you lying to yourself. And you're waking up lying. You're waking up doing activities to make other people feel a certain way. And then you looked up and your whole life now has become about making people feel a certain way about you. I'm telling you, invest your time in really making what you wrote down happen so that can happen and then they're going to see it. Here's what broke people do. Broke people wake up every day and focus on what? Get money. Get what? Get money. Right? And I just told you, if you get money, you don't necessarily have the other stuff. But if you own your own time, you got all of that. If you own your own time, you can't own your own time without having all the other stuff. So that's why we're gonna shift our focus. Broke people wake up and how much money do I need money. You don't need money when you creative. You don't need money when you creative. You need money when you broke. When you creative, you don't need money. Why? Because you can wake up and create something that can make you $10 million. If you creative, so you're spending so much of your time trying to make money that you're not focusing on what you're supposed to focus on. So at the end of the day, your superpower is when you are your authentic self. That's your superpower, is when you're you. If I'm going to be like anybody else, it's not going to work. And at the end of the day, if you are your authentic self, that's the 1%. There's 1% of us that don't care about what nobody else say or think about us. We're going to be our authentic self. That's what the 1% is. That's why I'm the #1 motivational speaker in the world. It don't mean nobody else ain't #1. I'm #1. Why? Just because I'm being myself. Be your authentic self. And when you are your authentic self, that's your superpower. And when you are in your superpower, that's what makes you 1%, because you're not like nobody else. And you got a whole world that when you're authentic, they challenge you. That's the real problem. And so every time we go up,
There's a place where locals help locals bring technology to life. To get the most from your tech, come in and chat to your local Telstra team.
outside, most of you would be filthy rich if you could be you. But every time you try to be you, somebody's challenging you. So that's what happens. When you try to be you, people gonna dog you out. When you try to be you, people gonna try to push you and bully you and challenge you because you ain't being what they think you should be. And most of you gonna break, and that's why you're not a 1%. I'm gonna say it one more time. Most of you gonna break. Most of you gonna break because you're not a 1%er. Most of you gonna make, and what you don't know about them is they don't know who they are. And they not happy with their life. And they don't want you to be happy because they not happy. And if you would just stand up and say, this is who I am. If you would just be yourself, that's all. I got a couple things. If I could just get you to leave out of here and no longer be what they want you to be, but be who you are called to be, you're going to go to a whole nother level. So the problem with most of you, when you didn't get it, you've been trying to be like everybody else, and that's what's killing you. Go buy what you want to buy, not what they want you to buy. For real, live the way you want to live, not how they want you to live. I'm telling you, you're going to go to a whole other why. Because you're going to be different, you're going to be rare, and that rarity is what's going to take you to the next level. You have a better chance of being your authentic self. My son's like, Dad, I want to make 6 figures. I'm like, cool. I'm not going to give you 6 figures, and I'm in a position to do that. But what I continue to think about is if I give my son money, if I die, what's going to happen to him? He's not going to be able to, he's not going to be able to take care of himself. So my thing is, you tell me what you want, and I can show you how to make it. So my son, he told me what he wanted to make. He's about to get married in a year. So I trained my son in the disc assessment, like thoroughly trained. I don't know, that's my son's stuff. Like thoroughly trained my son. My daughter is a beast at it. So what I tell my son is, this is what I'll do for you. I don't have time to certify everybody. But as people come in, you certify them. You certify everybody online, I give you 50%. I keep 50%, you take 50%, right? But I'm gonna watch you, and you better be sweet with it, right? So he got access to my man Mustafa, Moose, getting him tight work. He got access to Anthony Flynn, Anthony working with him. He got access to CJ. I mean that, he has access. I don't owe him to let CJ talk to him. Like, I don't owe him that. Like, CJ charged people. So just because he's your uncle, you don't get to go to him for free. But I've given him access to the people who've helped me blow up. And then it's like, yo, how much you trying to make? Dad, I'm trying to make an extra $5,000 this month. Or that sounds like 10 certifications. So you're going to have to get on the phone, right? So I got some D1 schools that are like, yo, we want you to come train us. Bro, I don't got time. The kind of money they pay and trying to be funny, you ain't got $50,000 an hour from me. I told my son, the university called me, D1 program, they want it. We'll go in together the first time because they want to see me. Then after that, you go in and you work with them on a regular basis, right? And if you can put me on the screen because I'm available in my hotel room, I'll get on the screen while you're local. But you learn to dish like the back of your hand. My daughter, you learn like the back, and we'll start a family company. So can I give him 50 grand? I'll be spoiling and killing him. But I'm giving him a skill set because at the end of the day, it's just not about the meat you eat when you hunt. It's about the confidence you get when you can go hunt. When you can actually go out as a lion or a lioness and catch that, there's a pride in not just making money. There's a pride in the process of the money. Nobody that you close to, you should just be cashing them out. Didi the only person I'm just cashing out. All right? And for real, she deserved it. She was with me when I was 16, homeless, whatever. So she's the only person I'm cashing out. I love my daughter to life. But I tell my daughter, how much you want to make? All right, good. This is how many clients you have to get. And guess what? I'll bring the clients in, and you're going to have to take care of them. Does that make sense? And that's hard because my father wasn't in my life. And because my mother, I felt, let me stay in those abandoned buildings, I had to be careful because it was easy for me to overcompensate because my father wasn't in my life and do more and even feel guilty because my son, he ain't stupid. He'll be trying to make me feel guilty like, Dad, you spoke. I'm like, bro, sit down somewhere. You can earn as much as you want, but you're not in high school no more. I'm not giving you anything. Does that make sense? And that's a hard boundary because it's family.
You can be a role model to other people. You can help steer them in the right direction, whether that's with your leadership or just in their own careers. But if you don't have yourself straight, if you don't know your values, if you don't know your purpose, if you don't really know where you want to go, then they're not going to be able to come with you, and they're going to be stuck in their own careers. So focus on yourself first, and then when you figure yourself out, you can then meet with them and really understand what they're looking to do in their career and how you can best support them. So fulfillment is personal and professional. It's everything that you hold dear in your heart. I think through life, you experience many different things. So the best way to figure out what you want to do in your life and to figure out what your values are is to have many experiences. For me, I was very fortunate because when I was 13, I had my first job. I was a caterer at my local temple in Newton, Massachusetts. And through that experience, I got to learn the most important skill, which is being able to manage and work with other people. It's why EQ will always become more important in our world. Is because if you understand how to work with other people, you not only learn how to manage and lead, but you learn a lot about yourself and how you operate and how you can relate to yourself and understand your place in the world. And so for me, by knowing that, you start to understand, okay, what's most important to me? What do I stand for? Well, for me, I want to be a resource for other people. I want to add value to people's lives. I value intelligence. I value thoughtfulness, which I think is extremely important. I think the smartest people are the most thoughtful, the ones who are thinking about every little thing, the people who are putting all that work into understanding who you are, what you represent, and being able to relate and connect with you on that human level, like you do with reading. Because you read everyone's book before you have them on, you have a better sense of who they are, you can relate to them, you can ask the right questions, and form stronger bonds. And that is so important, and yet a lot of people are not willing to put that level of effort into really understanding who they are, what they represent, and what the other person wants so that they can deliver for them. I think that we need to spend a lot more time with ourselves in order to be able to invest and support other people at the highest levels. So if you spend time with yourself, you start asking yourself the big questions. So one of the questions that I've recently asked myself is, what really motivates me now, and what motivated me in the past? So what motivated me in the past, I call it the dark side of motivation. I think that everyone has a light and a dark side. So dark side is I needed an enormous amount of validation in my 20s to cover up for my teenage years of being bullied nonstop by teachers and friends and just about everyone besides my parents. Your parents can tell you how great you are, but once you go out into the real world and you start getting made fun of. I had a teacher in elementary school that put me in a closet. In middle school, I was put in a locker. That's why I always related to Screech and Saved by the Bell, because he was put in a locker. And so I needed so much validation. And now I don't feel like I don't have that dark side of motivation. And I have more of the light side, which is just doing the right thing by other people. I'm taken care of, I feel validated, I feel very fulfilled. So now, as a leader, I can offer so much more because I know myself. I've taken the time to really think through why I am the way I am throughout my whole life. All these experiences that I've had. I've growing up, just always working with people who are older than me and understanding and asking them what's important to them and how they formulate relationships when they're older and they have fewer close relationships. So that to me is feedback saying, okay, if I know when I'm 60, 70, 80, I'm going to have fewer relationships, who do I want to be friends with and invest in now, knowing that's inevitable in the future? And so taking that time to think about who I'm connecting to, who I'm bringing in my life, who I don't want in my life, and making these hard choices is so important. Yet I find, especially with people my age, everyone is not only looking for validation, but they are afraid, they have true fear to leave a relationship because they don't want to be lonely. They have fear of being judged, so they just stay online and are always on their phone, right? So there's so much out there, and in order to cut through the clutter, you need to understand yourself so you can invest the right time in the right people and the right opportunities. And within an organization, once you know yourself, not only can you lead people because people will want to come with you on your journey, but people are more likely to work harder for you and stay with you longer because it costs so much money to replace employees. That if you create a culture where people feel like they're part of a family, there's a sense of belongingness, which is one of the employee engagement factors I cover in the book. People are more likely to work hard, establish friends in the workplace, stay with you longer, and outperform. And that's what you really want. Technology can bring you closer together, it can make you more human, it can create more opportunities for you, as you've also experienced. Because I was really early into personal branding, how to use social media to build it, and that has done incredible things for me. But at the same time, if we're always overusing and misusing this technology, it can bring us further apart and damage our relationships. Anxiety can be a superpower. We both like, comic books. And so it can actually supercharge your career. Because it's like, oh my God, I gotta get this done, I gotta get that done. It's that feeling, that anxious feeling that you actually have to do more and more and more and more. But you have to be careful on that because that could drive you to insanity and create more pressure, which is bad for your health. Awareness of a problem, I think, is the first step in solving it. And then it's about thinking about, okay, where is it maybe damaging me and where is it maybe helping me, and maybe I can take that superpower, that energy, and direct it into something that's going to be really powerful. And I had a few friends growing up that recognized this in me. And I remember when I was 9 years old, I was crying into my pillow and I was like, okay, you know, I don't fit in, I'll never fit in, but the but is the most important thing. But maybe it's because I'm special and someday I'll do something great. So the but saved me psychologically. And then it was, you know, this long decade in my 20s of trying to validate me. So all the achievements, all the interviews, all of that. Of course, I was trying to do the right thing and support people, but I needed the dark side of motivation to push me through to achieve excellence at that point. And now I don't need it because I have all the validation. I feel very fulfilled in my life. But I think if you really look at it, the anxiety set me up for being bullied at some respect, because people want to bully people who are not only different, but are suffering. People want to prey on the weak, sadly. And I don't think that will change in 50, 100 years. But it's good to be aware of this so we can start to do something about it. And then realizing that the anxiety could actually supercharge my career and recognizing that. And then now, in my 30s, recognizing that if I don't control it, it could really hurt me. And so learning how to control it and manipulate it for a good cause, I think is really important. I was 25 years old. Every book has been rejected by every publisher besides one. The first book came out, and my mom gave it to my kindergarten teacher. And kindergarten I was always in trouble. And my mom always likes to tell a story about when she gave it to my kindergarten teacher, who in her head was like, oh, he'll never amount to anything because he was always in trouble. She started crying, and she was just so thankful and so happy that I was able to do that. And to me, that the old version of me, the old story was that I was never good enough. I was always in trouble. Maybe I wasn't going to amount to anything. And so just even hearing that story, when parents wouldn't even let me play with their children because I had such a bad reputation. Not because I was a bad person, because my actions made me be perceived as someone that they shouldn't have their kids around because maybe I'll rub off on them. And so everything has played out from worst reputation to, let's say, one of the better reputations of where I grew up. And so that story has played out in my head, and it makes me feel very proud of what I've been able to do. And so now in my thought process, I'm a little bit more of a veteran now and more thoughtful and deliberate about what I want to do. And it's less about the recognition, it's less about the validation, it's less about the old stories I used to tell myself because I've gotten past that. So here's what's really fascinating is I've gotten past that, and so not having the dark side of motivation, in a sense, has demotivated me a little bit. The dark side actually pushes you to work harder. So I've been thinking about now is maybe the dark side isn't as bad as we make it out to be, and as long as it's controlled and we're conscious of it.